All right. Okay. So hang on now while I share my screen. And there you all are. There you are. I'm going to pull this up so you can see this. Okay. So this project is called In Our Shoes. And there are some questions that the project addresses within the confines of diversity and design topics. So these questions are: who are we? How do we want to live? Where do we want to go? How will we get there? Those are very basic questions, but they're actually very big questions in our worlds. Okay, I'm going to pop this up a little bit just in terms of the size so I can make sure that you see it. Can you be able to read this? Somebody say yes out loud if you can.
Yeah, it's clear.
Yes.
Okay, all right, okay. So we're starting with 3 quotes, and I think they're, really pertinent for this, and they have to do with different aspects of the project. So the first quote is by Rachel Luck, and she's from the Open University in the UK, and she says, "The very act of designing makes assumptions about how the world is and circumstances someone will encounter in their daily lives, including our own. It is through our lived embodied actions that we phenomenologically experience the world. Just how is it possible to anticipate someone else's lived experience and design for what they encounter?" That's what we're going to be doing with this competition. How do we design for individual preference, diverse characteristics, and the variable capabilities of different people? It's a very tall order. What are our processes for designing with and for individual difference? So Rachel is asking some of the big questions. Then the mode that we're taking on for this competition is the poster. And here we have Margaret Timmer's quote from her book, "From its 19th century beginnings to sophisticated modern developments, the poster not only has been a powerful communication tool, but also has reflected and shaped society." So we're going to see one of those very influential posters next week when we're taking on the issue of race and design. And then finally, our dean, who is also the campus architect, because we're going to be dealing with our campus, says, and I quote, and this is a little bit back to our Urban Design Week, "When considering the size, components, and characteristics of the University at Buffalo's physical environment, it is like a city providing major services to its students, employees, and affiliates. Therefore, current systems, processes, and policies must be further developed in order to properly manage and unify UB's growing physical infrastructure." So he's talking about this place as a city, and indeed, we talked a little bit about that in our discussion this week. So in the introductory part to this, one thing that I explained in the beginning of the semester, but this is a reminder, that the 2 projects that we do, particularly this one, are not just about doing the things that we do weekly in the course, but they are outward reaching and they are in the real world. So earlier I talked about the fact that we hold this annual competition, and for this year's competition, we're asking you to design a poster that builds awareness of how the design of UB's campuses either act as supports or barriers for those in underrepresented groups. So one of the things that you'll need to do to start is to analyze a part of the campus from the point of view of someone else and you're going to need to document those observations in a PowerPoint presentation. Now, one of the things that I want to emphasize here is that we have lots of people from lots of different majors. So sometimes you think, oh, this is an architecture course, so it's all about design, and I'm at a disadvantage because I don't know anything about design in terms of how to do it. I might be learning about the content, but I'm not a designer. And that is, in this particular case, that is not true this year, nor is it true in the past, that this favors the students who have some design background. And in fact, most years, well over 75% of the students who place in the competition are not from a design major like architecture or communication design in the art department. So just keep that in mind. Students who typically do very, very well are students from exercise science, nutrition, and engineering. So just keep that in mind. So this competition is designed for majors from any discipline. I can't stress this enough. And then on to the big idea. When you're taking on this competition, think about the importance of design as a social act. So how does your poster then operate as a cultural force that might both reflect and shape values, beliefs, and priorities within American culture? And that's a really big question. It's something to think about in the back of your mind while you're taking on things that are very direct right in front of you. We have some goals. We want you to do a very close reading of a familiar design environment so that you can become more aware of how design can include or exclude. We want you to think about the ways that design influences your everyday lives, and then how that actually ends up scaling up into communities. Practice methods of documentation in both visual and text. Yeah. Anybody have a question? Oh, okay. Then when you are doing a piece of communication design with this project. So when you are doing that, it's important for you to understand the purpose, the intended audience, and the persuasive techniques that you're using. Then design the poster that raises awareness and become a change agent with this poster. So here's the guts of the thing, the core, the meat, if you want to call it that. Here's the charge for the competition. Describe the persona of someone who is very different from yourself. Assume that you are this person, and then assuming that you're this person, take a quarter-mile walk or roll, if you happen to be in a wheelchair or on a walker, on one of UB's 3 campuses. It can be any one of the 3 campuses, doesn't matter which one. Photograph at least 10 examples of ways that the built or visual environment either supports or does not support you as this person. Develop a PowerPoint presentation of these photographs, and those photographs should be annotated with explanation. We'll look at an example in a minute. Choose one of the photographs from your walk or roll. Develop a poster that addresses how the design of the built or visual environment has impacted you as this person on this walk. So this year, UB is having the Inclusive Excellence Summit on May 4th. It's a big, big event on the North Campus. It happens every 2 years. And we will be exhibiting all of the top posters in an exhibit that will be in conjunction with that event on the North Campus. And you should know that all the posters are going to be in the same format and the same size because they are meant to be read as a single set. And so to that end, we've got a template for you to use, which makes life easier for you for sure. Okay, so then the first thing that we've got to do is, lo and behold, go to a thrift store and buy a pair of shoes. Now, these shoes should be different from any shoes you would wear. And if you can't go to a thrift store, note that there's going to be a box of shoes outside my 318 Hayes Hall office door. And I'll put that up there by noon tomorrow, and you can feel free to take a pair. These shoes are available on a first come, first served basis. And I'm going to stop sharing for a minute so I can show you some of those handy dandy shoes. Okay, so I took a little trip to the AMVET store and had some fun yesterday. And so let's see what I can come up with just to show you. So I have these lovely items. I've got these. They look like they might be shoes that are for an older woman. We've got some cute little kids shoes. We've got the old lady tennis shoes. We have, there are men's shoes here too. We have the, what shall we go? Well, this could be a drag queen shoes because they're very large. I'm not sure, but don't ask me to get in these and walk. I don't think it could happen. So I just, had a blast buying pairs of shoes that might describe all kinds of different people in the world. And I'd like you to do the same thing, or you can, if you don't have time or you don't have the money or whatever. I mean, these are all about $2 to $5 was how much I spent on these shoes. So if you don't have, I'm looking for some guy's shoes, but I think they're in my car. I just pulled up one bag here. If you, and just get something that's really, really different than you. Any age, any gender, just have some fun with that part of it. Okay, now I'm going to go back and share again. And there are plenty of thrift stores near the North Campus, by the way. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so now we'll go back into this project statement. And, oh yeah, okay, so you've got to buy this pair of shoes or take one from the box in front of my office. I'll keep checking the box, and if it gets empty, I'll try to replenish it, but I'm probably not going to be doing that every single day. All right, then after you've got those shoes, I need you to study those and think about them. And who might wear shoes like that? Who would this person be? So we're asking you to write a description about the person who would wear these shoes. And you can use the following categories to develop the persona. But if you want to, you can add some of your own. That's perfectly fine as well. So age, occupation. If it's a little kid, obviously they're not going to have an occupation unless they happen to be very, very unusual. Maybe they sell lemonade, who knows? Very entrepreneurial at a young age, but the typical kinds of things that we're covering in the class, as well as other interesting aspects of the person. Okay, so that's the persona. Then the next part is the walk or the role. Now, if you want a wheelchair or a walker, you could borrow. I have a couple that you could borrow. There are lots and lots of crutches for sale at thrift stores, and they're usually $2 or $3. So if you want to do something like that, you can as well. But it's absolutely not necessary to have any kind of a mobility device with this project. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is decide what quarter-mile route you're going to take, and on which campus that's going to be. And we're asking you to include certain things on that walk. So there has to be a sidewalk. You need to go across a crosswalk. You need to go into a building. You need to move from one floor to another. You need to use the restroom. And then, the rest of it is up to you. But those are the things that we're requiring you to do on this walk. Then what you'll need to do is get a copy of the campus map, and you're going to mark out your walk. So there's the website for the campus maps. You can then, next thing is to actually take the walk. The weather's turning, getting better, except for Friday. So, it's that time of the year. Now, if you wanted to do this as a group, of course you may do that. If you wanted to do it as a discussion group, you should connect with your discussion group instructor, and as a group try to organize a time. In that case, maybe you would all be taking the same walk, and I think that that's okay. I don't see that as a problem. But if you want to go with someone else and take the walk, fine. However, each one of you need your own pair of shoes. Now, I have a question for myself, which I will answer. Can I use the same shoes as somebody else? If you happen to know somebody who's in the class and they're in a different group than you are, and you go on a different walk than they are, you may borrow their shoes. Yes, you could do that. It's fine. Okay, so when you go on this walk, you've got to bring the shoes with you. And then you have to imagine that you're this person that you've described. And you need to document aspects of the walk that are positive, that support you as this person, and then document aspects of the walk that are negative, that don't support you. And to do this, when you see a feature, you need to place the person's shoes near the feature you are documenting and take a photograph. So here you can see some students from the University of Arkansas with some shoes. So I did this down, a similar project down in Arkansas a few years ago for a workshop. And it was really, really, very, very rewarding, I think, for everybody. So here they are in the walk, and here's one of the guys taking photographs of his shoes. Okay, so then after you've done this walk, the first thing you're going to do is then pull this documentation that you've just done into some sort of a document. And in this case, it's going to be a PowerPoint document. So we're asking you to select 10 photographic examples that best communicate your observations. And so when you do that, at least 3 of the photographs that you include in this PowerPoint should contain positive aspects, and at least 3 should contain negative aspects of the UB environment. So you're going to then do this PowerPoint presentation. There it is, I guess it's 14 pages in total. There's a title page. We'll look at that in a minute. There's a description of a person. There's the map of the walk or roll. There are 10 photographs with annotations. And in this case, each page will have 1 photograph, some text that explains why the design feature helps or hinders. And maybe there'll be some research in there. And then page 14 would be references. Okay, now I want to show you the template for that. Hang on a second. Where did I put it? Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up full scale so you can see it. Okay, so here's the title page. you can do exactly the same thing. It's perfectly fine. Your name in the shoes of, and you have to name your person. So, and then we have our, our boilerplate items. Then, let's see. Okay, this person's name is Mabel Stein. And then we have some information about her. She's 83, she's retired former animal trainer. She's Caucasian, Jewish, cisgender, lower middle class. I'm agile for my age, but I do not see well. I have high blood pressure. I'm intelligent, however, I've suffered from depression for most of my life. My parents practiced Judaism, but I do not. I've been to all 50 states. I went to Woodstock and saw Jimi Hendrix play the national anthem. So that's something that she's kind of proud of. So you need to think about who this person is as well for your shoes, and give us a few interesting details rather than just the ho-hum stuff. Then the next part is this map. Oh, that should be a colon rather than a semicolon up there. But what you'll need to do is mark out the map. Sorry about that squiggly line there. That's pretty bad. But mark out where you went. So this is a map of part of the South Campus. And I'm showing where I went here. I started in Deef parking lot, went to the lecture hall, walked downstairs into the lobby. Then I went downstairs to use the restroom. Then I went outside and headed for the medical library in Abbott Hall, and so on and so forth. I ended up in Squire. So you need to let us know what that walk is. Pretty straightforward. But then here are the 10 photos. So photo 1, you need to let us know where it is. In this case, it's Diefendorf steps to the lower level. The design feature that we're talking about are the steps and the stair railings. This is Mabel's observation. These stairs were difficult to maneuver. It was difficult to see the edges of the steps because they were the same color. So if you look at all these steps, if Mabel had low vision, it would be hard for her to see those edges. So then as a result of that, she really hung on to the railings, but she then got her hand caught in these cables up here on the railings. And she said, I know they're there to prevent children from falling through, but it's easy to get tangled in them. So and I should have put a little citation here, which I did not do. So I don't do what I do what I say, right? I'll add a citation to this and repost it online. So in this case, should any research be done? Well, I think yes. I pulled a little research up so to look at how safe cable railings really are. So what I found out was that they're generally safe as long as the toggles are properly tensioned, but those toggles can easily become loose. However, in some cities in the US do not allow horizontal cable railings. Now these are diagonal, but they would be considered horizontal because of the ladder effect. In other words, people can climb on them and topple over. They can climb on these bars and commit suicide or, fall or whatever. And then for each photo, you'll do something like this. But if you do research for that, you don't have to do research on every single thing that you put in for the photographs, but I think that you should do some so that we get more information about some of these features. I think that would be useful for you. And then in the very end, the references. So any references that you use, you will list at least the website at the bottom of the page here, but you can list a fuller reference for this references page. So that's that let me share again, sorry about that. That's the PowerPoint itself. Now, does anybody have any questions about that part of it? I can see you moving, but I can't, your mouth moving, but you're muted. So here, can I unmute you? Can you unmute yourself? Or you can write in the chat room. We've got 2 questions in the chat room. Try to unmute. So let's see, do we need to wear the shoes that we need to buy? No, because let's say that I ended up with these lovely items. There's no way I can't fit them. You know, these are probably size 11s and I wear a size 6 shoe. So I'm not going to do that. You do not have to wear them. Just take them along as a reminder of who you're supposed to be. For the details, do we make them up, or are they actually true facts about that person? Well, this is a fictitious person. So you're going to have to make up this person and then try to be that person as much as possible. So you're going to literally put yourself in the shoes of a person who you've described in that first persona description. So then we have a question. We do the project at a PowerPoint format. There'll be 2 things. You'll be doing the PowerPoint that shows your documentation. And then you're also going to be doing a poster, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the poster is also going to be in PowerPoint format for 2 reasons. Now, that's typically not the kind of software you would use for a poster. But there are 2 reasons. One is that I think everybody tends to know how to use PowerPoint. So I don't want to favor students who know InDesign, which would be Adobe InDesign, which would be the typical kind of program that you would use to design a poster. PowerPoint is something that's it's much more generic in terms of a piece of software. So that's one reason. The other reason is that I don't want you doing something like a PDF is that once we've selected the posters, we may need to do a little tweaking if there's a misspelling or something, which sometimes there is. So we want to be able to go in there and manipulate if we need to, just to clean it up a little bit. Can it be a shoe? So one of the questions is, can it be a shoe from a thrift store that we already have? Well, as long as that shoe would be vastly different than a shoe that you would wear yourself. So you want to give yourself, a prop to develop a persona of someone who's very different than you are. So if you have a little brother or sister and you want to use, their tiny shoe or what, that's fine. You don't have to go to a thrift store, but if you need it, that's a good place to go to get one. And my office is 318 Hayes Hall. That's on the South Campus. Yes, Crystal answered, when is it due? And that would be Saturday, April 1st. Is the poster supposed to be physical? No, it'll just be in PowerPoint format. So you'll submit it online. So then here's the next question. Rena asks this question. So even if we do the walk with someone else or a group, each person makes their own presentation. Yes, that is correct, Rena. You have your own pair of shoes and your own presentation. So if you happen to be a little kid in your persona and you're walking on this big North Campus, what you photograph might be very, very different than what somebody who's got Mabel as their persona would photograph. So you can go with somebody else and, you know, you'll be finding different things along the way. Ashley, will the directions be posted? Yes, I'll show you where they are once we finish answering some of these questions. And where do we post the homework? That it will be, this is iPad. Hi, iPad. iPad to everyone. Hi, iPad. You post your homework on UB Learns, and I'll show you where that is as well. And Omar has posted. He's one of and this is Omar. Hi, Omar. He's one of our instructors, so he's helping out here. Now, Jacqueline says, what do we do with the shoes after we've completed the projects if they do not fit us? Well, you can do anything you'd like. You can make a shoe garden out of them, and you can use them as potted plants to put your potted plants in. You can bring them back to Goodwill. You can, if you want, I can put a box outside my office and I can schlep them over to Goodwill myself. You can give them to someone who might want them. That's up to you. And then Dell asks, hi Dell, I can see you. How would you suggest that we go about eliminating some of the biases that we may have about how these fictitious people would go about the campus and react with it? That's a really great question, because you are going to walk in with some biases. So, you know, one of the beauties of going on a walk with someone else rather than going by yourself, even if it's someone who's not in this class, is that you might be able to, somebody else might have a slightly different point of view about the person who you are trying to be. So that might expand your viewpoints a little bit more, but it is one of the dangers of doing this. You can never truly be someone. I think there was a movie called Being John Malkovich. It's an older film, but one of the things he said in that film was, if I could have anything in the world, I would give 5 minutes to be in somebody else's head, you know, and I would love to know what it's like to be somebody else or another creature like a cat. What would it be like to be in their head? And we can never really do that, but we're going to try, you know, we're going to try to get close. And if you notice some biases creeping in, especially Dell, some stereotypes, you know, like I can easily see you wanting to stereotype your the person that you are trying to be. You might, if you even think that you're going towards a stereotype, you know, double check yourself and ask yourself some questions about, is this really how somebody like that might feel or might respond to this? So that's the best I can do in terms of responding to your question, but it's a really good one. Okay, now let's move along. Now we're going to go to the poster. So let me get, gotta find myself here. Okay. And you can also ask other questions along, other questions along the way as well. I'll find that other. Okay, now let's get back to the project statement, the poster. So what you're going to do for the poster is choose one of the photos from the PowerPoint and develop the poster using the template in the Project 1 folder. The poster will have 3 elements: a photo, some attention-getting text, and a description of the person you are trying to be. And it doesn't have to be the whole list that you're putting into the PowerPoint, but you should describe yourself to a certain degree. Just a few design considerations. We've got a layout for you. The size for the poster is 16 by 24. It's in portrait orientation. The fonts are determined on the template. They're Helvetica. Surprise, surprise. PowerPoint is the final format. When you're taking the photographs, put high resolution on your phone so that you get some big, larger photographs. 3 megs or larger would be great. When you're using the attention-getting text, you want to limit it to approximately 25, and the persona text is less than 100 words. Okay, now I want to go to UB Learns. I'm still here. Okay, they kicked me out. They're so mean and impatient. Okay. All right, now to find the projects for the semester, go to the menu and click on the project section, and you'll see 2 project folders. Project 1 of 2 is what we're going for right now in our shoes. Now, this is the project assignment. This is an assignment. So if you click on this, you'll see the due date, how many points there are, 60 points. This is the project brief that we've been going over. You're not going to write the submission here. You're going to attach a PowerPoint file and load it up right here. And if you need to add any comments for us, like, I don't know what that would be, but hope you have fun looking at this, whatever it is. You can add your comments there and submit. That's how you submit it. And the brief itself, as I said before, is right within that assignment. So right here, okay? So that's the assignment itself. Then we've got some competition resources. And let's take a look at the poster template and example. So I'm going to pop that up. Well, I thought I was popping it up.
I think you just downloaded it.
Oh, sorry, I downloaded it twice. Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna pop this up. It takes a village, right? Okay, you can see that this is kind of, this bar is in the way, but here's the template. It's very straightforward. There's a 14 by 14 inch box. The photograph's going to go in there. Then this is the attention getting text. Because this is a 16 by 24 poster, we're asking you to put the text in 44-point Helvetica bold, aligned on the left margin here, right here. And then if you're using a quote for that attention getting text, you want to put the name of the person here, or the source. And then the description of the person text should be placed here. And that will be in 28-point Helvetica regular. So it's pretty straightforward. And why can't I? Oh, I put up the wrong one. I'm sorry. Hang on. I'll show you the one with the example. I'm glad I caught that. Let's see. Oh, we've already looked at that. That's the PowerPoint. Let's see if the poster template. Oh, here we go. Yeah, okay. So then here's the example. Oh. You can see the photograph is big. In this case, we've got Kyla. She's a 16-year-old transgender woman from Pittsburgh. And she says, because of my high grades, I'm, oh. I don't know what's going on here. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute just because something strange is happening. But you saw it. It'll be posted. So anyway, that will be in, and you'll be able to see that. Now, let me get back in here again. Yeah, so, and the other thing I want to show you are examples of attention-getting text. Now, this is not the poster that, oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, here we go. All right, in this case, the poster is a different format. This looks more like your PowerPoint. But in this case, we've got a photograph. In this case, we're looking at a homeless person who is in chalk drawn out his house. And the arresting statistic, so one of the ways to grab somebody's attention is to give them a statistic that's rather surprising. So in this case, we have a statistic in 2018, architecture firms in the US contributed less than 1% of their time to pro bono work, meaning, you know, architects could actually step up and help out a little bit with this homeless situation. So that would be the arresting statistic example. Here's an arresting statement of fact, same photo, but we're using another attention-getting device. So in this case, our desire to build a home relates to our need to stabilize and organize our complex selves. So this is kind of interesting. I mean, it's a psychological statement, but it's kind of interesting because even with this chalk layout that this person has developed, there's a kind of a need to stabilize and organize and, you know, notice all the stuff is in the bedroom rather than in the kitchen, etc. Now, here's a turn on a theory or a phrase. So we've all heard there's no place like home in the Wizard of Oz. But if you take that out of context and put it in the context of this image, it sort of hits you in the gut a little bit. And it's like, oh. We're using it in a different way. And so therefore it has a lot of power. Then a question always gets attention. How can we, as designers of a just society, eliminate homelessness? That's a very straightforward.
Hey Beth, just a quick question, sorry.
Yeah.
Are you supposed to be sharing screen?
Yeah.
Oh, we can't see your screen. So.
Oh no. Okay. Oh dear. Okay, hang on. We'll have to go through those very quickly again. I don't want to keep you here forever. Yeah, if I'm blathering on like that and you and you think I should be sharing the screen, say something right away. Okay, so here they are again. Here's the question: how can we as designers of a just society eliminate homelessness? Now I've got something that's going on. I don't know what's happening here. Okay. All right. So here we've got the arresting statistic, and you see this image. You can fill in what I said earlier. Here we've got our statement of fact. You know, we need to organize ourselves with this image. Here we have the turn on a theory or a phrase, there's no place like home, which kind of hits you. And then here, how can we as designers of a just society eliminate homelessness? So you could ask yourselves, what do you think, you know, which of those do you think is gets the most attention? Which one is the most powerful? And you might want to ask yourself why that might be. And when you're thinking about what that attention getting text is. Okay, so now I'm going to stop sharing that. And then you can see here, in this case, we've got, in this case, we've got the photograph. We have a fact, an interesting statistic as the thing to gather attention. So we've got this pair of shoes and the heel is stuck in between the boards on this boardwalk. And here it says a University of Maryland study found that in 2020, this is, I didn't make this up, this is for real. 6,000 blah, 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 high-heeled related emergency room visits involving women ages 15 to 69 took place in the US with the source. And then underneath it, we have a little bit of a paragraph by Kyla, the person that someone is pretending to be. And at the bottom of this, she talks about herself. She talks about being transgender, how her mother was supportive. And that kind of surprised her because she grew up in a Catholic Italian family. She likes her phone, she likes fashion, especially beautiful shoes. And she once turned her ankle because she was wearing heels and texting and not watching where she was going. So when you look at all this together, you get a kind of a, you know, you get an impression that maybe we ought to think about how we design environments and or shoes so that they might be a little bit safer for all. Well, that would be one thing to think about. I'm going to stop sharing again. Because I've got something on my screen is freezing up and I'm trying to get rid of it so that I can get back to some of the other things that I want to talk about. Okay, so now I'm going to share again now that I got out of that. So hang tight. Okay, now I'm going to go back to that project statement. There's just a little bit more left. And what you need to know, these are due April 1st. No joke. You need to upload onto uLearns both the poster and the PowerPoint into that Project One file. You can load up more than one file in there. And then you can label the documents like they are in the example. And then in addition, once you've got your poster, save it as a ping image. And so that your discussion group mates can see what you did, upload the poster into the discussion forum in your group, there'll be a forum that's labeled Project 1 in Our Shoes. The 12-member teaching team will be the jury. And we're going to review both the slide presentation and the poster. But the poster is the only thing that's going to go up into the exhibit. So no, the PowerPoints will not. We're just looking at those in terms of your quality of your documentation. We will have a first place, a second place, and then we don't know how many honorable mentions. It depends upon the quality. Depends upon the quality of the entries. So you might want to. And then we have a website for our competitions, and Omar worked on last year's website, but we'll add more this year. And so we'll have. You can take a look at that website and see what people did last year for the competition. And then when the time comes, we'll put your winning entries up into this year's website. So this is the Arkansas venue with the posters, and then the shoes were underneath them. Hang on to those shoes, don't give them away, because if you are one of the winners, we might want to add the shoes to the poster if it makes sense in our venue. I'm not sure yet. What I really want to go over are these last few things: the criteria and then the considerations. So you're going to be evaluated on your completion of the PowerPoint presentation, obviously, clarity and logic of the poster. Does it communicate with its intended audience? Ask yourself some of the questions here. Is it a persuasive poster? Does it capture people's attention? Is there kind of a connection between the way you captured the attention and the message that you want to send? Are the images of high quality? Is the text well written? Did you check everything for grammar and spelling errors? Does the poster and the slide presentation demonstrate innovative ways of perceiving the built environment on the UB campus? You kind of have to stretch your mind for this one, because sometimes you're going to see a sticker somewhere on a pole that you might typically overlook, but it might be really important depending upon who you're talking with, or depending upon who your person is. So, it's something to keep in mind. Did you adhere to the project brief? And it's 60 points. So those are the criteria. They will be in rubric form in the assignment itself. Yeah, there's something really going on with my computer. So we've already gone over the first item here for the considerations. We've talked about research. We've talked about the idea of someone feeling welcome. So there are a couple of examples here. These are very direct and straightforward examples, and they may be, bordering on the very predictable kinds of things. But those will give you some examples. I think more importantly is what's missing from the environment that you encounter on this walk. So let's say that you're an old professor with bad knees and you've got to walk from Capon all the way over to the Lockwood Library. Well, are there any places for you to sit down along the way? They're not there, so they're missing. But what's missing is a very big deal. So you might want to be thinking about not just looking for features, but looking for missing features. Or, the fact that UB sits on former Seneca Nation territory, is there anywhere on UB where there's some sort of acknowledgement of that, that's part of the campus? If it's missing, that's an issue. So in that case, what you maybe would do would be to put your shoes somewhere where that really could be, where maybe a sign or a placard or something or a monument could be, and it's not there. So that's another way of thinking about this. Then this is a good kind of boilerplate way of analyzing your walk. You can use the 7 principles of universal design to do that. So there are 7 principles here, and I'm asking questions that might kind of prompt you along the way to figure out what you might want to be looking at. So at first you might not see much, but trust me, it's there. It's there in a big way. So, so this might help you out a little bit with that. And then we're talking a little bit about making the communication aspects of these. And then who's your target audience? Well, you have a number of people who are in your target audience. You have university administrators, including the president and the provost, because they're going to be at this summit. You got people coming in from out of town who are, I shouldn't say important people, but people who are very knowledgeable about the field of inclusion. You've got faculty and students who are going to be attending this summit. You've got all the people who travel through the student union. So you have many different audiences that are going to be looking at these posters. And so how do you hope that your poster, how do you hope that that poster impacts them? So we do have a general discussion board in this course, and I've put up a new forum that's called Questions About Project One. I check the board every day, so you should get a response in less than 24 hours. And then we looked at some of the documents that are on UB Learns. Okay, now I'm really going to stop sharing. It's 10 o'clock, but let's just take a look to see if we have any other questions. So where did we end up on directions? What do we do with the shoes? Yeah, we've got that one. How would you suggest that we go about eliminating? Oh, we've got that one. It's a big and very good question. If annual, can we use family members' shoes that is obviously different from ours? If annual, yes, you may do that. So for those of us that can use Illustrator, can we still use it or no? I don't think you should, because I'd like to see everybody, let me think about that. I want to talk that over with the teaching team rather than saying no, but my inclination is to say no, but I want to talk to the team and see what they think about it, and then I'll let you know. Then Grace is asking if I'm sharing the screen when I'm supposed to be, but I wasn't. We cannot see what you're talking about. I know, sorry about that. Would you have time after the Zoom meeting so I can discuss with you about this project? I'm a cross-registered. Oh, yes, you're from New Paltz. And so, Grace, what you're going to do is you're going to use your own campus. You're not going to use the UB campus for this, but I can stay on the line. And that's, I think, all the questions that are in the chat. Does anybody have a live question they want to ask? Or do the TAs have anything that I didn't talk about that I should talk about? No, okay. So I think we're good to go. If you obviously you can always email if you've got questions, you can throw them into the discussion board. You can, we want there's no question that we won't try to answer, even if they're difficult ones like Dell's, which is, you know, that's a really rich question. So thank you for that, Del. All right, if that's it, you can either go out and have some fun tonight, you can go work, you can go study, you can go watch a movie, you can go to sleep, or do whatever you do, and whatever you do, make sure you're enjoying it, even if it's work. Okay, thank you so much. And I'll stick online if anybody wants to talk after the meeting.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye. I love you all, even though I can't see you. There's that Grace.
Hello,
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. What about you?
I'm doing well. It's nice to be in a live scenario for once. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
live, but you know, it's a little more live than the asynchronous learning. And
A little closer.
before we talk, Crystal and Omar, what do you think about allowing students who know InDesign to do it in InDesign? Do you think that's okay?
I think they were asking about Illustrator, but
Oh, Illustrator. Oh,
yeah.
oh, I'm
I
not.
feel like InDesign is kind of in the same realm, but
Yeah.
Illustrator is a little different. But I mean, I don't see why not if they're like used to it, but as long as it kind of like aligns with the rest of the designs, like it doesn't,
Yeah,
it's
as long
not
as
too
they
far
follow
away
the
from them.
template. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you know,
Because they
it's
might
really,
just be comfortable using it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so, I mean, it's such a plug and play scenario here. I mean, they're really, you know, they're not designing a poster, they're putting in the content. So, okay, so I'll let them do that if they want to. I just don't want PDFs because I don't want to have to do converting, and so there's inevitably a spelling error or something, you know, that or things aren't aligned the way they should be, and then I can't stand that, so then I have to go align everything and go back in there. And if it's in a PDF form, then I've got to do conversions, and you know, my stuff is outdated in comparison to all of yours, so I can't, you know, I usually can't convert a PDF that was done in one of your later versions of Adobe Creative Suite. And so, you know, I'm kind of stuck. So that was one of my reasons for doing this way. But you could do, you could do the tweaking if need be. I can always ask a favor in that regard. So, okay, so we'll do that. Okay, so Grace, let's talk.
I might head off right now.
Yeah,
Sorry.
see you, Crystal.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Good
take
night.
care. Yeah.
So I guess the only big difference is that I'm a different campus, but it
Yeah.
shouldn't look
It
that
should
different.
not be an issue at all, I don't think, because you know, as I showed you, I did this for a little workshop at Arkansas, and it was you could do this anywhere.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think as long as you have the elements that, and our three campuses are very, very different from one another. So, you know, that's like three different campuses completely. One is totally urban, one is like an old college campus, and one is a modern kind of industrial complex. So, you know, I'm sure you won't have any trouble with that. But it might be, the one thing is that it might be nice to bring somebody along with you, because, you know, you've got shoes, you've got a camera, you've got all this stuff. It's just kind of useful to have a friend come along.
Yeah.
It won't take that long. Yeah. So that's what I would recommend.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's nice to meet you, see your face. It's
Yeah.
great. Yeah. I
This
mean,
is a wonderful class. take. So
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I've been enjoying your emails, and I was so surprised because I didn't know there was anybody from another campus in the course. I'd love to have more. You know, it's nice to have
yeah,
kind of expand the horizons a little bit. So
yeah, it's
great.
cool. I just like taking advantage of the SUNY cross registration system
You
because
know, I think
yeah.
that it's one of these gifts that people just don't think about. They don't realize it. And so I
Yeah.
think it's really, yeah, I'm glad you're taking advantage of it. What
Mhm.
year are you?
I'm a sophomore.
So just keep doing that because,
Yeah.
I mean, just think, I mean, you've got so many options. And
Yeah. I
uh,
think I'm registered, not registered really, but I think I've cooperated with at least 3 other SUNY school, or it will be 3 other SUNY schools.
wow, that's,
Yeah.
you know, it would be really neat to do an article on you. You know, SUNY puts out these, UB puts out their own little magazine, but so does SUNY. It would be really interesting to do an article on you as somebody who's taken advantage of this option that most students don't.
Mm.
And, you know, kind of interview you about what you've taken and how you searched for classes and, you know, how you've just expanded all the possibilities for yourself. So I mean, that would be very cool. We should stay in touch so that we could do that when you're I think
Well,
it
that'd
would
be
be best when
wonderful.
you're a senior or a junior. Yeah. After you've taken a
Yeah.
few more. Yeah. That'd be very cool.
I appreciate hearing that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
don't think they've ever, I think my sense is that the whole idea of doing this flies under the radar. And
Mhm.
I just don't understand why. I guess I would want to find the best courses and try to take them as long as I'm paying
Yeah.
tuition. And then I've
No,
got
yeah.
64 schools at my disposal. And
Yeah.
I'm
It's
only going to
crazy.
look at the courses in one? Really?
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
there's not like you can't do this with private schools. Like sure they
no,
have like some like a few like schools they might cooperate with, but not 64 schools.
I know, I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad you're doing that. And it's nice to
Yeah.
meet you. So I will let you go and, you know, go do whatever you do that's fun and interesting at 10:10 at night. And if you
Yeah.
have any questions about this, just let me know.
Awesome. Thank you
Okay.
for your it was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, it's nice to see you.
Yeah, you
Take
too.
care.
You. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.